Unlock your potential, embrace the power of clarity. Here's a fundamental truth: most of the suffering, frustration, and stagnation people experience comes down to one thing: vague thinking. When you lack clarity, your mind creates obstacles that aren't even real. Tasks feel harder than they are, and goals appear distant or unattainable. This mental fog isn't some external force acting on you, it's a self-imposed prison. And here's the kicker: the energy required to confront this fog is significant, so most people avoid it. They stay trapped in familiar frustrations because, strangely enough, those frustrations feel safer than venturing into the unknown. Elon Musk puts it bluntly: there's no such thing as a lack of willpower. What people call a lack of willpower is actually a lack of clarity. This isn't just some abstract idea. It's rooted in our biology. Our ancestors lived in a world where ambiguity could mean death. A rustling in the bushes? It might have been the wind, or it might have been a predator. In that environment, fear of the unknown was a survival mechanism. But today, that same instinct can paralyze us. It makes us hesitate, procrastinate, and avoid defining our goals. Let me share you a story that captures this perfectly. In 1952, Florence Chadwick set out to be the first woman to swim the English Channel. She trained hard, prepared for months, and was more than capable of completing the challenge. But partway through, a dense fog rolled in. She couldn't see the shore. Her support team urged her to keep going, but she lost faith and gave up. When the fog cleared, she discovered she was just 1 mile from her destination. Think about that. It wasn't the difficulty of the swim that stopped her, it was the lack of clarity. She couldn't see her goal, and that uncertainty defeated her. How often do we do the same thing in our lives? How often do we let the fog of vagueness and uncertainty hold us back? So, what's the solution? How do you overcome this mental fog? First, define your destination. Be precise. What do you want? Not some vague notion of success or happiness, but a clear, actionable goal. This is where most people fail: they don't spend the time to define what success looks like for them. Musk famously said, "If you want something to happen, gather the elements necessary to make it so." What does that mean? It means clarity isn't about wishful thinking. It's about understanding the components of success. It's about learning. Read books, study case studies, talk to experts. The more you know, the clearer your path becomes. Second, break it down into steps. Big goals are intimidating. They feel overwhelming because they're so far beyond your current capabilities. But here's the thing: every complex achievement is just a series of smaller, manageable steps. Identify those steps. Focus on the fundamentals. It's like building a rocket. You don't start with the finished product. You start by gathering the necessary materials, understanding the physics, and constructing each component piece by piece. The same principle applies to any field. Third, act with imperfect confidence. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan, because they don't exist. Start small. Accept that your first attempts will likely be clumsy or even bad. But here's the beauty of action: it creates momentum. When you take the first step, no matter how small, you begin to clear the fog. You see opportunities and solutions you couldn't have anticipated. That's how progress works, not by waiting for certainty, but by creating it through action. Now, let's be honest. None of this is easy. It's far easier to stay in your comfort zone, to avoid the hard work of thinking critically and confronting the unknown. But here's the harsh truth: the problems you avoid today will haunt you tomorrow. True growth demands effort. It demands that you face what's unclear, that you push yourself to define your goals, break them into steps, and act despite your doubts. The process of sharpening your clarity is uncomfortable. It requires discipline, focus, and persistence. But it's also what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Let me leave you with this: the fog will always be there. Life is inherently uncertain. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is this: the successful confront the fog. They define their goals, they take the first step, and they keep moving forward, even when they can't see the shore. So take that first step. Strike at the uncertainty. You don't need all the answers to begin, but you do need the courage to start. Because once you do, you'll find that the path forward becomes clearer with every step. One day, you'll look back and realize that the moment you embraced clarity was the moment your life truly began to change.